So from the Bone Breaker wave, we have the Wolverine figure, a different take of the Tiger Stripe Wolverine. Now this Wolverine figure is the only figure in the Bone Breaker series or wave that does not contain a Build-A-Figure piece. So this is the Heat Glow Wolverine, so a little bit of history or background of this figure. So we have the short bio. Let's do a quick 360 view of the packaging of this figure. For the contents of our purchase, it's just going to be the figure and an alternate head sculpt. So for point of comparison with other Marvel Legends action figures, so here is the spread. As for actual height of the figure, it stands at around 5.70 inches. Okay, so let's discuss articulation points on this action figure. So let's start with the head. So the head, of course, we have an alternate head sculpt. So this is the articulation point for the head. So we have a hinge and a ball system, and alternating between heads is just a one-click system. Just that way. Taking off is easy, putting it back is easy. Now let's move towards the torso area. So we have a cut on the abdominal area and on the waistline. So for the waistline, that's for rotation of the figure sideways, and as for the abdominal cut, that is for towards the bending forwards and bending backwards. Of course, we have that kind of motion. So how much of the inner cavity is exposed? As for the back area, so we have quite an exposed area of the inner cavity of the figure, but that is a nice downward bend, so actually still okay. And the hump on the exposed cavity is very small or minimal, unlike other older action figures wherein this part was really protruding. But for this figure, that is nice and clean. So bending backwards, of course, that this is the limitation of the figure, and how much of the inner cavity is exposed, so just little. And the bend area is clean, so that's really nice. Because we have a belt, so just move the belt either upwards or downwards to facilitate movement of the waistline cut. Okay, so let's move towards the shoulder and the arms. So the shoulders are on a butterfly joint. So butterfly joints towards the back. So that much bend, butterfly joints towards the front of the figure. It's a great articulation. And first for the arms, this shoulder guard or shoulder accessory is connected to the ball of the arm. So actually we have a hole on the arm and it is just connected that way, but I like it this way because when I move the arms or rotate the arms, this piece also moves with the rest of the arm. Actually, it does not hinder articulation of the arm, though we have quite a bit of limitation of raising the arms sideways. Well, it's going to be dependent on the collector if that is an issue with you, but personally I'm just fine with it. Okay, so as for the biceps, as expected, we have rotation or a cut on the biceps for rotation. We have 2 points of articulation on the elbow. We have, of course, articulation on the hand area, and we also have a hinge. Okay, so let's move towards the legs of the figure. As for the leg area, because of the design or the anatomy of the figure, we have this bump on the butt or design on the butt that way, which of course, as expected, that's going to impede articulation of the legs moving backwards. But as to moving forwards or raising it for a front kick, that is nice and wide. As for raising it sidewards, so we have quite a limitation. I think that is just it, or maybe depends on how you move that joint to facilitate a greater or a wider side kick, or you could compensate with the other leg by doing that if you want a really high degree of side kick for this Wolverine figure. We have a cut on the thigh for rotation. We have 2 points of articulation for the knee. We have boot articulation. We have a hinge for the foot. And we have a foot rocker. Okay, so let us discuss the details of this action figure, just this figure. Let us not consider the other Wolverine figures that came before this figure. So as for the paint job, I am happy to say that with regards to color separation, the blue is blue, the yellow is yellow. And as for the boots, the blue is blue, the black is black. We don't have any bleed through or the black seeping through the blue or the blue seeping through the black stripes. So nicely painted. Even on the mask of this figure, it is also nicely painted. And on the back, on the top, so I'm happy to say that this is no QC issues as for this figure with regards to the paint job. Now let us take a look at the color of the face and the color of the forearms. And yep, that is a nice match of colors, so they are the same. Because sometimes the forearm or the exposed arm, the color of the skin of the exposed arm is just not the same with the face, but this time that's same color. And also on the forearm, the gloved forearm, so the blue, actually this is molded plastic and that is a painted forearm, so I could see that the color is just the same. So sometimes with other figures, although they would paint it with just the same, possibly red or black, but the painted area on the forearm sometimes is darker or lighter compared to the gloved hand. But with this, that is just a uniform color, so great job. My only gripe with this gloved area, I would have wanted that the painted blue area on the forearm, the plastic should have been a little bit raised by 0.2 centimeters, so we could have or possibly see that it is a continuation of the gloved hand moving upwards towards the forearm, because this is just painted blue. Okay, but that is just minor. So far I'm totally satisfied with the quality control on this on this figure, especially on the belt area. So that is a nicely painted or cleanly painted belt, so the gold is vibrant and the red borders of the belt or the belt buckle actually is not bleeding through the rest of the buckle of the figure. So paint is staying where it should stay, not bleeding through or traveling. So this is a nicely detailed figure. And on the arm also, we have some kind of texturing to possibly mimic hair. So let's take a look at the alternate head sculpt on this figure. Now we have the alternate head on the figure and comparing skin tones. So the skin tone on the alternate head sculpt with the main head sculpt, and the color of the arm of the figure. Actually, the shade that was used for the skin tone, they are the same, so uniform, which is really great, nice to note. And as for the detail of the head sculpt, of course this is an exposed head, unmasked head, and I really appreciate that they did not include any accessories of the mask down, which sometimes would just be dangling around the neck and could be quite annoying to look at, especially if you're playing with the figure. You have that separate piece of plastic and it's quite annoying that it moves around up and down. So I'm just satisfied that they just included an alternate head sculpt, straight alternate head sculpt without any additional accessories to mimic a mask down. But as for the details on the head, so the eyes are nicely painted, and even the gaze is even, so even the exposed areas of the mouth, the tongue, and the teeth nicely painted, and the wrinkle lines on the face of Wolverine, and that really mad expression. So I really appreciate this head sculpt. That great that Marvel Legends included this head sculpt to this figure. So possibly you could use this with other Wolverine figures. That is if the paint, color of the face of the paint that was used is the same. But if it's going to be a different color, then you can't use this head sculpt. But primarily just for this figure, so you have the choice now whether to use a masked head or an unmasked head. So great combination of accessories, just simple, just what we need. So the last detail that I would like to discuss would be the color of the clothes, because the clothes actually are semi-transparent, so semi-silver and semi-red. And before we discuss about the thing that I want to raise, actually this is nicely aligned, so the clothes are not crooked in any way, just because that was an old issue with other older Wolverine action figures, wherein the clothes would really situate everywhere at different angles, up, down, left, right. But with this, they are nicely uniformly in tune with each other. So going back towards the color of the clothes of this figure, so we have that red hue and the transparent area of the blade to possibly mimic heat, and as for the red, that is to mimic blood. This is what I really like about this figure, which other Wolverine action figures just won't show, or possibly have the manufacturer has been avoiding that kind of paint job for the clothes of Wolverine. It's just going to be clean silver paint on the clothes, but in reality, you know that these clothes are tucked in between the forearm spaces of Wolverine, and every time that the clothes would pop out of his hands, of course the clothes, the adamantium clothes would move through or puncture skin, connective tissue, and of course that would involve blood. Of course, we still have a little bit of muscle and meat on our hand area, so of course when those clothes would pop, there's going to be blood. So those are the things that I would just want to point out, which are present in this Wolverine figure. Now, if you don't want the transparent thing, then you could just take them out separately and paint the tip of the blades with silver, but just retain the red area. Of course, that is a really nice detail. So for example, that this clothes just popped out because he has to defend himself or has to fight, then that is the thing that we want to see. Or for example, a medical professional would want to see realism in figures, because of course that area is going to be drenched with blood because the blades punctured through biologic matter of the body. So that is just the thing. So actually, I really like this figure. Now, for all the Wolverine figures that I have seen before this figure and the ones that I own, this I could say right now that I like this better. So this is a nicely designed figure. Although the paint, it's a different take on the tiger stripe Wolverine. We don't have any of the briefs present, but that is okay. This is what I want. Actually, a semi-modern looking Wolverine. The yellow is nice and vibrant. The blue is nice and vibrant. The black, not too black, it's just matte. So it is, the black areas is not drowned out. The color of the skin actually on this figure also is okay. Not too dark, not too brown, not too white, just right. So especially on the alternate head sculpt too. So it's going to depend right now if you're going to use this head or that head. But I think I'll by owning this figure, I think I'm just going to be alternating between the two heads from time to time. Depends on the day, or depends on when I look at this figure. I want a new head sculpt, then I'm just going to pop this in. I need another expression face, then I'm going to put that on. So that's it. So actually, it's a nicely detailed figure, nice paint job, execution okay, height okay compared to other Marvel Legends action figures. So let's compare this now with the other Wolverines that I have on hand. So let's get through the photos and the video shots. So if you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe to help grow this channel. And once again, see you on the next action figure review.